All right, you guys. So, I like to do educational videos from time to time when I'm talking about insurance. And today we're going to be discussing subrogation.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need.
Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishawn, and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life of the toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back, and thank you for your support. All right, so as I said before, I want to talk about subrogation. So if you're not familiar with the term subrogation, basically it is the insurance company's way of recovering money for claims that were not the fault of their insureds. I'm going to give a few scenarios on just kind of how that works, but basically insurance companies try to recover as much money as they can because it is a business. The idea of having insurance is that if something happens on accident, you have coverage for it. You have something like basically a rainy day. You pay into this fund, and if something happens, that fund is used to bring you back to pre-loss condition. Now, because insurance companies have to make money in order to pay these claims, to pay their employees and things like that, they need to recover as much money as possible. Now, there are some instances where they're not going to be able to recover any money. Like it might just be something where like only the insured was involved and there's no one to go after. All kinds of things could happen, but a lot of times there are responsible parties that cause situations to happen. So I'm going to talk about a few of those today, and I'm also going to talk about a one-off that I actually got dinged for. So if you are interested, if you're an adjuster, or if you're just simply curious about the idea of subrogation, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. All right, you guys. So the first situation where you would want to consider sending a subrogation referral on the file is if a claim comes up and it's because there was recent work done in the area that wasn't properly done. So I would say probably the most common situations this happens is like if you have a washing machine, for example, that was installed by Home Depot or Lowe's, and they installed it and maybe they didn't install the hoses correctly. So that caused the washing machine to overflow, causing damages to building materials, flooring, drywall, things like that. In this case, the insurance company a lot of times would go on ahead and pay the claim for the insured because in essence, it is sudden and accidental. It's not something that the customer obviously planned or not something that was negligence on the customer. But because they did have this work done by a vendor, the insurance company will typically ask for the information of the vendor, reach out to that vendor to probably do an investigation to see was everything hooked up properly, was there anything that was missed, and if it's determined that that vendor is responsible for the damages, then the insurance company that paid out the money will go after the responsible insurance company to recoup that money. So another common situation where this will happen is if there was like recent plumbing work. So most homes, I do insurance in California, and there are a lot of like old houses where people haven't gotten the plumbing updated, and they usually don't think about it until they have a leak. So some people will use it as an opportunity to just repipe the whole house if they have the money to do so. So I've seen situations where a plumber comes out to like fix a leak, or they, like repipe the house, whatever, and maybe they messed up somewhere. So a common question that we will ask, our insureds is if you've had any recent work done. If you have, then we typically will ask for that information. Well, it could be roofing, it could be like some type of repair, plumbing, whatever. We'll ask for that information because our subrogation team is going to want to investigate it to see if there is any type of recovery available, for that loss. Okay, so the second situation in which you probably want to send a subrogation referral to your subrogation team is if you have a claim where a vehicle ran into a house. Now, this is unfortunately more common than you think, but this is also why there is liability coverage on the insurance policy for vehicles. If a person causes damage to something, then usually that liability coverage will kick in and take care of those damages. Now, this can be tricky because a lot of times there's going to be a limit, especially in California. I think that the minimum limits, if I remember correctly, the minimum limits for liability is $5,000. So with that, if it's over $5,000, then there would be no coverage, and you'd be in a situation where you'd have to go after probably the person directly. But In the insurance company's case, the most they'd be able to pay is at 5,000. So essentially, it's one of those things where somebody else caused this damage, so you want to go after the responsible party. The responsible party being that person's insurance. Now, obviously, there are times where people are not properly insured, or maybe they let their insurance lapse. In that case, then you would be going after the person personally. Now, it's not always, especially if you're going after somebody personally, it's not always a guarantee that you're going to get that money back, because the average person doesn't have like thousands of dollars sitting around. And depending on how extensive the damage is, if they damage like maybe only a fence, or if they damage the house and the fence and, you know, trees and I don't know, plants and stuff around it or whatever, it could be really expensive. So most people don't have the money to, you know, just pay for that type of stuff. But this is something that you want to send to subrogation just in case there is a chance of recovery on that type of claim. All right, so the next situation is like condo specific. So if you have a situation where one unit caused damages to another unit, then there is subrogation potential, and that's something that you want to send to your subrogation team. So a lot of times, the situations that I'll see is like a leak. It'll be, you know, someone's water heater from upstairs leaked to the bottom unit, or somebody's toilet overflowed and, you know, it damaged the ceiling of the unit downstairs, something like that. So in that case, you would want to get the information for the insurance company of the responsible party. Now, as the adjuster, it helps for you to get this information, but a lot of times if you send it over to the subrogation department, they will handle that. But this is a situation where you could potentially recover money from that responsible party. Now, the tricky part about this is that in order for coverage to apply, there has to be, I guess, evidence of like negligence. So I've seen it happen where like if a pipe just suddenly burst, it's not like the person was negligent. It just so happened that that pipe gave way and caused damage. So in that case, the insurance company may not be able to recover money from the responsible person. If it's a situation where there's like a dishwasher leak, for example, and the dishwasher had been leaking for a little bit, and the customer did not do what they needed to do to fix that dishwasher, and then like it eventually just gave way and caused a leak and damage to downstairs, that's a situation where, you know, the insurance company might be able to prove negligence and be able to go after the responsible party. So still want to get that information over to your subrogation department, but that's like a really common thing, and you're going to see that a lot with condos. Okay, so the next situation is extremely random, and this is something that I got dinged on not long ago, and I was very pissed about it. But I guess I know now for future reference. So you're gonna sometimes have like one-off situations where you're not sure if it's something that could be recovered on or not. I would say, just kind of from my experience, you want to err on the side of like letting the subrogation department determine if that's something that could be recovered on, or if like the situation that you have, if it's kind of like one of those like you don't really know, you want to send the referral anyway, just so they can kind of make that decision and note the file whether it is feasible or not. So the situation that I had, it was a landlord property, and it was an apartment building. There was an upstairs unit and a downstairs unit. Now, the upstairs unit, the tenants that lived there, somebody fell through the toilet. It was like the weirdest situation. Like the toilet was literally broken in half. And with the toilet breaking in half, like the top part, the bowl area, it overflowed, and it happened while the person was away. So the person, I don't know if they were at work or whatever, but they weren't at home at the time. And the only way they knew that there was leaking was because the downstairs neighbor that was home noticed that there was like leaking coming through her ceiling. So with that said, we ended up having to replace like all of the carpet upstairs, because it basically just went through all the rooms because of the duration of time the water had been running. And then the neighbors downstairs ended up having to move because a lot of their ceilings and walls were damaged. So it was kind of a big claim. Now, I did not send a subrogation referral on this one because I had never seen anything like this. And I'm like, well, how are we going to recover? Like, it was an accident. So how are we going to recover any money from this? Now, the way it was explained to me is that if the tenant is admitting fault, like admitting that, you know, it was an accident, if they had renter's insurance, which would usually have like a liability portion, if they have renter's insurance, and it's possible that we could have recovered. So it was determined that the tenant did not have renter's insurance, but I still got dinged on it because they said I should have sent it right away. So I was a little pissed. This is like one of those, if I'm putting up another video, I don't know if it's going to go up before this one or after, but basically I kind of talk about some of the like the little dumb shit, you know, that's happening with my company. neither here nor there. But yeah, so I got dinged for that. So I say all that to say that when in doubt, just go ahead and send that subrogation referral. Let them figure it out. You don't figure it out on your own, especially if it's something that's not like an obvious situation. All right, you guys, so that is all that I have for you today. I wanted to kind of go over the topic of subrogation. I talked about like SIU before, Special Investigations Unit, and I wanted to also do this type of video. Both departments really are kind of like support for claims, and they essentially are there to like protect the insurance company. So one investigates fraud if somebody's trying to like fraudulently file a claim or get money, whatever. And then the other department, subrogation, is basically where there are legitimate claims, but it's not the fault of our insured. So we try to go after the responsible party so we can, protect premiums from going up. We can, just recover that money because that helps the insurance company stay afloat, all that type of stuff. There are like millions of dollars that are recovered every year through subrogation if adjusters are, kind of properly evaluating. So I wanted to kind of discuss that and do a video on it because with a lot of insurance companies, subrogation is a hot topic. It's one of those things where like if adjusters are constantly missing it, it's like you're constantly like leaving money on the table and putting the insurance company at risk for going under, for lack of a better word, just because like it's money that probably just didn't need to be spent. So remember, insurance is like, it's a big pot that we're all paying into, and it's basically money that's there that will help us if we have some type of catastrophic loss or just some type of loss that's like bigger than something that you would be able to just pay for out of pocket easily. It's meant to protect, but then in order for insurance companies to continue to stay in business, they do have to be smart about their dollars, where they go, and what they're able to recover. So I do hope this video helped. Again, if you are a new adjuster, even if you're a seasoned adjuster and you just kind of needed like a tutorial in subrogation, you were just curious about the topic, I hope you liked it. If you did, definitely go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have not subscribed and you made it this far, please go on ahead and click that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your bag, it's like I never knew you.